Hey everyone! Welcome back to another trip through history. Today we're talking about one of the most dramatic and transformative events in British history, the Great Fire of London of 1666. It was a disaster that burned for 4 days, destroyed much of the city, left thousands homeless, but also paved the way for a modern London. What caused this inferno? How did people survive? And how did it forever change the city? Let's dig in. Let's start with a quick look at London in 1666. It was a bustling city, full of life and activity, but also fraught with danger and challenges. Picture this: narrow, winding streets filled with wooden houses, tightly packed together, making it easy for fire to spread. Open flames were used for cooking and heating, with little regard for safety. These open flames were a common sight in every household, and there was no proper fire department to respond to emergencies. The city relied on bucket brigades and primitive firefighting methods. The city was overcrowded, unsanitary, and still recovering from the devastating plague of 1665. The streets were filled with waste, and the air was thick with the stench of decay. Oh, and it hadn't rained for weeks, leaving everything bone dry. The dry conditions made the wooden structures even more susceptible to fire. Basically, London was a giant tinderbox waiting for a spark. And that spark? It was just around the corner. It started in a bakery on Pudding Lane, owned by a man named Thomas Fariner. His bakery was a typical establishment of the time, filled with flammable materials. On the night of September 2nd, 1666, a small fire broke out in the bakery, and let's just say, things escalated quickly. The fire spread rapidly, fueled by the dry conditions and the wooden structures, turning into a massive conflagration that would change London forever. The fire started around 1 a.m. on a quiet Sunday morning in the heart of London. It began in a small bakery on Pudding Lane, a seemingly innocuous place for such a catastrophic event to originate, and quickly spread to neighboring houses. The flames leapt from rooftop to rooftop, fueled by the dry timber and thatched roofs that were so common in the city at the time. Why? Because most buildings in London were made of timber and tightly packed together. The narrow streets and close proximity of the buildings created a tinderbox just waiting for a spark. Add in a strong wind from the east, and you've got the perfect storm. The wind carried embers far and wide, igniting new fires faster than they could be extinguished. Panic spread as people tried to save whatever they could. Families grabbed their most precious belongings, from heirlooms to everyday necessities, and fled into the streets. Many fled to the River Thames, loading their belongings onto boats to escape. The river became a lifeline, a means of escape from the inferno that was consuming their homes. Imagine the chaos, flames towering above, smoke filling the air, and the sound of buildings collapsing. Terrifying, right? The heat was so intense that it could be felt from miles away. Even King Charles II got involved, ordering fire breaks to be created by pulling down houses. His advisors and soldiers worked tirelessly, but the fire was relentless. But it was too late. The fire was unstoppable. It raged on for days, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake and changing the face of London forever. Over 4 days, the fire destroyed 87 churches, including the iconic St. Paul's Cathedral, and over 13,000 homes. That's about 80% of the city within the walls. Remarkably, only a few deaths were recorded, but many historians believe the true death toll was higher, especially among the poor and unrecorded. When the fire finally died down on September 6th, the heart of London was unrecognizable. Thousands were homeless, and entire neighborhoods had been wiped off the map. So how exactly did the fire start? This question has puzzled many for centuries. Most historians agree that Thomas Fariner's bakery was the source. Located on Pudding Lane, this small bakery was a bustling place in 1666. A spark from the oven likely ignited some nearby kindling. The bakery was filled with flammable materials, making it a tinderbox waiting to explode. But here's where things get interesting. Back in 1666, people were quick to blame foreigners. The fire spread rapidly, and panic ensued. In fact, some thought it was a plot by the French or Dutch, as England was at war with both at the time. The political climate was tense, and suspicions ran high. One unfortunate Frenchman, Robert Hubert, even confessed to starting the fire, though he wasn't even in London when it began. His confession was likely coerced. He was executed anyway, showing just how much fear and suspicion the fire stirred up. The Great Fire of London left a lasting impact, not just on the city but on its people and their psyche. The devastation was immense, with thousands of homes destroyed and countless lives affected. The fire raged for days, consuming everything in its path. Yet, from the ashes, London rose again. The city was rebuilt with new regulations to prevent such a disaster from happening again. The Great Fire of London remains a pivotal moment in history, a reminder of both human vulnerability and resilience. After the fire, London faced a massive challenge rebuilding. This is where the story takes a turn for the better. The city was redesigned with wider streets, brick and stone buildings, and better sanitation. Legendary architect Sir Christopher Wren led the charge, designing landmarks like the new St. Paul's Cathedral. While not all of Wren's grand plans were adopted, like a grid system for the entire city, the fire marked the beginning of a modern, safer London. It's proof that even in the face of disaster, resilience and innovation can shine through. Today, the Great Fire of London is remembered as both a tragedy and a turning point. It reshaped the city's architecture, inspired improvements in fire safety, and even led to the creation of the insurance industry. The monument to the Great Fire, designed by Wren, still stands as a reminder of this pivotal moment in history. The Great Fire may have been devastating, but it also sparked a new beginning for London, turning a medieval city into the foundation of the modern metropolis we know today. And that's the story of the Great Fire of London, a disaster that forever changed one of the world's greatest cities. If you found this video fascinating, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more historical deep dives, and let me know in the comments. What's one thing about this story that surprised you the most? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.